Now, she might look pretty cute, but Molly is a killer and her sister is no better. So I've been wanting to put collars on them to stop their hunting, to reduce the number of birds they're killing. And I've tried a number of different cheap collars, but they've really lasted a day or two at most before I found them among the garden somewhere, in the flower beds, or just they've never been seen. Now, Molly's also been lost recently and we found her trapped in the neighbour's garage. And I really wanted to also have a collar on her so that people would know she was an owned cat, and so that I could get some details on there so that if she was found, then people would be able to get in touch with us and she'd be able to be brought home as soon as possible. Now, I've spoken to Laylee and Kevin from Supakit in the past. They produce these premium cat collars. These are a little bit more expensive than your bog standard pet shop collar, and I really wanted to put them through the paces to see if they were right for Molly and Millie, for my cats, and to see if that premium price is actually worth it. Now, this isn't sponsored. I bought these collars with my own money, although I do have an affiliate link down below which gives you 10% off your first purchase if you decide that these are right for you.
So my order turned up a couple of weeks after ordering, which is pretty good considering it's come from the UK and I'm in New Zealand. And the collars come in these cool little tins. You push to open them, and this is the strawberry pink one that is more red than pink, but it's actually made from sequel, and this is pretty cool. It's created from recycled plastics that's collected from the sea, so that's really good from a sustainability point of view. And the other one I ordered was one of the premium leather ones, so this is the azure blue, which is actually my personal preference. And then how many collars actually come with instructions. So this is pretty cool because as well as this, which tells you kind of how to fit it, the best way to care for it so it lasts you a long time. When you order, you also get emailed the guide to collar bliss so that you can make a plan to be sure that your cats will love their new collars. So this one here, you can see it comes with a bell and it's got this breakaway collar, which I think is pretty sleek. So you can't open it by pinching the sides as you would a normal buckle. It only comes away with that pressure. And there's a really nice kind of balance between coming apart, you know, with a little bit of force. It does take a little bit of effort to get it apart, and it's not going to fall off too easily, but it's still going to come away if your cat does get tangled up in the collar. And we'll come on to fitting in a minute, which means that that's much less likely to happen. So the guide also suggests that actually you should remove the bell. So the bells are pretty good. They come with a tiny little kind of split ring there, which makes it a little bit fiddly to remove, but it's going to make it much more comfortable for your cat. So removing that bell in the first instance is going to give your cat one less thing to get used to. So yeah, it's a good idea if your cat's not worn a collar before, or you've had problems with it. Yeah, just removing that bell. So here is the sequel kind of fabric one. The breakaway collar is much the same, or is exactly the same as is the bell. The buckle moves really nice and smoothly, just like with the leather one as well. And actually the fabric is really nice and smooth here. So I can't see this getting kind of caught in hair or hair getting pulled out and that being uncomfortable for your cat. Like a lot of those cheap, nasty plastic fabrics are. They're really kind of quite rough and you can imagine them being uncomfortable. But this one is really nice and smooth. So we've got to make use of the tins. Let's keep those bells nice and safe. Keep them stored in the tin for a couple of weeks until your cats have got used to the collars and you can put them back on. And so it comes to actually fitting your collars, getting your cat used to the smell and used to the collars is the first step. I literally just held them in front of my cats. They gave them a bit of a sniff. They didn't really seem too bothered by them, which is great. That's the reaction we want. If your cat is bothered by it, they seem kind of repulsed, if you like, by that smell. But you know, if they've had a bad experience of a collar that's similar before, then you can try just leaving it by your cat's food bowl just to get them used to it in a positive situation. Next up, I'm just kind of checking Molly's neck size just to see if I could get an idea of how tight or loose I should make that collar before fitting it. And then it comes time to the fitting. So I actually just use some tuna here, which I know both Molly and Millie absolutely love, as a way of distracting. So I kind of went to town and I wasn't shy with the amount that I gave. And Molly had the strawberry pink sequel Supakit collar. And you'll see here that I got the size wrong. It took me quite a while to get that right. So I think I made 3 or 4 different adjustments despite having tried. I was a bit surprised, and I'm sure you will be too, about actually how thin or their necks are underneath all that fluff. Molly certainly is a real nice fluffy cat. So I did have to make it a little bit tighter a few times to get that right. And actually for both of the collars, I did end up tightening them again a couple of days later, because when I checked it, I felt that I had still made it a little bit too loose. And the way you check that is to see if you can get one finger between the collar and your cat's neck. So you don't want it any tighter than that. And the idea here is that it fits, really nice and snugly. These are thin collars, they're light collars, they're pliable collars, and so they kind of conform to the shape of your cat's neck, and they move with your cat. They don't rub, they don't tug, they don't kind of rotate really readily, and that just makes it much more likely that your cat's going to accept them and it's going to make them more comfortable. But what it's also going to do, if we have that collar nice and snug, it's going to be much less likely for them to get tangled up in it, getting their neck through a branch as they're pushing through the undergrowth while they're hunting birds, in my cat's case, although the bell is hopefully going to put a stop to that. So I did the same thing with Millie. So I did this at a separate time, and Tom came along to have a little look as well to see what was going on, wondered why I'd got the camera out. So used Tuna again, and it was exactly the same process, just making that collar the right size, making sure it's the right size. I'd had the experience with Molly before, so I only had to make one adjustment. Now, Millie, she did react a little bit when I was putting it on, but I think more that was a, hey, what are you doing? I just want to get to my food kind of thing, rather than that she was irritated or, put out by me putting the collar on her. And so again, just making sure that it's the right size. When you pop it on, I did find it takes a little bit of a knack when we're using it as tightly or as snugly as we are aiming to get these fitted, not to clip in their hair, because again, if it clips in their hair when it does move around, if they kind of scratch it or they're rubbing up against something, then that's more likely to tug and it's going to put your cat off wearing them. So I did find it a little bit difficult to keep the hair out the way, but just persist, just do your best, and that should be no problem at all. After all, we're only going to be putting them on, very intermittently, maybe taking them off to apply some flea treatment, which is what the suggestion is, or to wash them if you find that they're particularly dirty, your cat's got into some kind of mischief. And then both cats, they took to them really well. So I actually left it a couple of weeks before I put the bell in. You can see here Millie is sporting her rather smart, if I say so, azure blue leather Supakit collar with the bell attached. She seemed pretty happy. This was actually just after I'd put the bell back on, so she didn't seem too disturbed by having that noise around her neck. And Molly was much the same. Like, as soon as I'd put the collar on her, she was rolling around and playing with the carpet, which she loves. And again, after putting that bell on, she didn't really have any concerns.
So would I recommend these collars from Supakit? Well, they've stayed on our cats for couple of months now. I've had no problems. They've got bells on them. There's no birds coming in. So absolutely, I think it's definitely a price worth paying. In the long run, I think these are actually going to be cheaper. And it also means that there's just less waste being produced that's getting washed out to sea or going in landfill and the like. You can get 10% off these Supakit collars by using the link down below. That is an affiliate link. And you can also check out the other video on screen now, where Laylee and Kevin from Supakit talk all about how to make sure your cat accepts their new collar. So click on that video, and until next time, I'm Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family. What do you reckon? You look at the camera? Good girl, well done.